Okay, so we are live, apparently.
Good stuff.
So very pleased today to have Rob Thomas from Sporting Elite here. Rob is our guru on everything to do with sports in America and sports scholarships. So he'll be answering everyone's questions about anything and everything to do with how we're going to get sports scholarships in America at this time. And no doubt there'll be some particular topics of conversation that will come up. And I think we all know what they are, but hopefully Rob's going to explain everything that's going on. So, Rob, first of all, do you just want to give everyone a bit of a background to you, to Sporting Elite, and to what you do and why you do it?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm director of Sporting Elite USA. We guide students through the US university recruiting process. So from communicating with coaches, assessing whether it's a realistic opportunity for them based off of their academic and sporting aspirations, checking things like eligibility, which again, with everything going on right now, there has been a few changes to some things there. So again, I can go through that during this call. And then just going for any questions. Again, you look at uni to uni, there are so many differences and variables from a uni to a state, and it's making sure you match the student up with the right university. So that's what we spend a lot of our time with. I've been doing this for a number of years now, all because no one ever gave me the opportunity to do this when I was younger. Played football at Wimbledon Academy and was always intrigued by America, loved US sports, and not one school teacher ever told me about the opportunities of studying in the US. I stumbled upon it just when I went traveling after I'd done my A-levels and never looked back, and went to a small junior college. Absolutely loved it there. And then when I came back, just thinking how many other people didn't even know about this route, or they know about it, but they don't think they're good enough. And the amount of times we come across people that are good enough and valuing themselves too low. So it's just to spread the word. And again, I love talking about sports. I love US universities, and it's just great making other people sort of have them opportunities that I unfortunately wasn't able to have properly to that extent.
Great. So had you had that opportunity, you would have been a first-class footballer by now, is that right?
Definitely. I'd be making a living from this. I wouldn't be here right now. No. It's more so if I would have done it earlier, I would have been so many more opportunities to explore. I would have got more funding. I could have gone to a bigger university. And that's the thing. Like, I did it. I stumbled upon it literally 3-4 months before I was actually due to start university. Again, I wasn't. I was in America and I just did it myself. But yeah, if I'd have done it 2 years earlier, it would have been very different. I'm always envious. Again, I'm really happy that when students start their first day at university, I'm sure you're the same, when you see them getting on the plane or they arrive at campus and you see on their Instagram or their Facebook about they're having such a great time and they're loving all the friends that they're making. It's really rewarding. One of the most rewarding parts about what we do is helping people reach their goals and their dreams. Literally this last year, actually one of the students we placed has just graduated now, unfortunately not the way he'd hoped, but I got a message from his mum about 3 months ago, Jono's just got married. So it's literally in his senior year, got married to someone he met at college. So in his, I think, sophomore year. And yeah, that's the first student I've got out there that's actually got married. It's not the norm, but all sorts of.
So you're starting a sideline as a matchmaking business.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good idea. We'll have to talk about that more at the end.
So you mentioned finding like the right fit university for students, and obviously that's something that in the college counselling world we do a lot of as well, but from an academic perspective. Yeah. What would you say when students are looking to do sports in America? What is the number one reason that they would do it in America rather than going down the kind of traditional professional route in the UK?
So I'll give my opinion on this, because again, like, you can ask anyone and everyone will have a different opinion on why America's good or why not to go to America. For me, America gives you the perfect balance between sports and academics. I know when I was younger, I was always told you have to choose between your academics or sports. You can't pursue both avenues to an elite level and away. Where in the US, you can do both. The academic setup and the sports setup is all governed by the same body. So you've not got people trying to take you away from one or take you away from the other. I feel, again, when looking at the right uni and right college, there's so many different factors that people have to look into, and that's what takes a lot of time, because we have some people that want to go out purely for sporting reasons. They've got aspirations to be an Olympian, to turn professional, again, whatever it may be, what sport they're playing. And that's a small percentage. Most people are looking to use their sport to help them get a good academic degree. And again, there's everything else in between. And that will impact what sort of university they're looking at as well.
Okay. And do you want to talk about some of the, I don't want to help you blow your own trumpet too much, but the kind of success stories that you've had where, let's say, students who, had they not gone to America, would have really struggled here, and how America kind of helped them get the best out of their sports and academics.
Well, for me, I think, again, not to knock the UK education system, the academic system here in the UK is incredibly strong, but I just think from a sporting standpoint, we're not just us, every country in the world is quite a long way behind. We've got one girl right now who's just graduating from LSU, Louisiana State University. She was one that but she spoke to about 48 different universities. It was incredible how many she had to look at. And she was going to choose UCLA, which incredible university, great brand recognition, but academically it would have been probably a bit of a struggle. Not quite there for her UK equivalent grades. And also the course she wanted to study, LSU probably had a better course for her. She's now graduated, and she contacted my colleague Ben, who was the one that was managing her through that, and just thanking her for finding such a good fit, because it gave her that balance. Because again, if you're not a straight A student, then some unis aren't going to be right for you, and you could go to one of them unis, you might get admitted, but you're really going to struggle when you're there, potentially, to time manage like what the athletic requirements are going to be, the training and the homework, etc., and time with lecturers. So it's trying to find that balance, and that was really good for her. And we've had students that have been fortunate enough to turn down unis like Brown or MIT to go to places like Stanford. And again, it really is different from person to person. From a sporting perspective, there are so many students that we've got out there and people that have graduated now that, well, have had a great time, and they're now back here in the UK in employment. Got one guy who's a head golf coach in the US at a golf at university, and that all came from just going out on a golf scholarship. Graduated, done his became a graduate assistant coach at University of Chattanooga in Tennessee, and after I think it's 2 or 3 years being the graduate assistant, graduate assistant, then became the head golf coach, started a new golf program, and they're one of the top 2 or 3 golf programs in the country, which just shows you the opportunities that are there, whether it's going into sports after, whether it's staying in the US or coming back to the UK into your profession.
Okay, so you've talked a lot about the kind of academic side as well here, that students are not just thinking about where they can play sports, they're thinking about where they can get the best out of their academics and where they're going to be able to cope academically as well. Would you say that's one of, I mean, actually you mentioned it at the beginning that there was a really good balance in the States between academics and sports. If someone was, let's say, an absolutely brilliant sports person, and you thought there was a 90% chance of them going professional at some point, would you say that the US is still a good option for them, or should they just concentrate on a purely professional route in sport? For
me, again, I might be a bit biased here, but for me, it's still a no-brainer. I think, again, for anyone that can potentially be a professional athlete, and again, you never know what's around the corner. Touch wood, it doesn't happen, but you could get injured next week, next month, next year. If it's a career-ending injury, you're not going to be making a living from your sport. So the good thing with the US is you can go there, still become a professional athlete. It doesn't mean you're not going to become a professional athlete. It just means that you're going to be going there, you're going to be getting your academic and your degree at the same time. That will help you later on in life, because again, what is the lifespan of an athlete, or the sort of income stream from an athlete from that profession?
Yeah.
it's relatively short in the grand scheme of things. So if you have a degree, then you've got something you can go off of when you've graduated. But for me, yeah, that risk, I've had it, unfortunately, with people that get injured. They then look at America, or they don't get a career-ending injury, but it opens their eyes thinking, oh my God, what if something more serious happens in future? But again, you're still going to be improving. You go to America, you're going to have great facilities, you're going to have a great level of opposition, and if anything, it will make you more prepared for when you do make that leap. You're going to get a chance to grow as an individual and enjoy life a little bit before the stresses of a professional athlete, right? University experience, whether you're an academic applicant, a sports athlete, a musician, again, it doesn't matter. It's a great 4-year period in the US where you just meet so many great people that are friends of you just because of you, and not maybe because of your reputation as an athlete or a professional.
Yeah, we're not supposed to be telling students that they're going to enjoy themselves.
Yeah, no, it's all hard work. That's for sure. I will say that it is an incredibly enjoyable time. However, you will be challenged and pushed to the limit, both in the classroom and on the soccer field, or on the track, or in the pool, on the whatever it is, after the sport that you do. It's not a walk in the park, and again, you will be pushed to your limit, but it is so rewarding if you can push yourself and manage everything properly.
Okay, well, we'll come back to that in a bit when we talk about what it's actually like for students there, but let's roll things back a bit and talk about what students actually have to think about when they're going through the process of applying. And I thought maybe a good question to start with, and actually a question that's come in here, is what level should a student be at in order to even consider going for a sports scholarship in America?
It's always a hard one to answer. I'll try and answer it as good as I can, purely because there are a lot of factors that come into it. So depending on the student's budget, for example, that will impact how good they have to be. The more you can contribute to your yearly cost of attending university, the lower level you can get away with. Then it comes down to what sort of university you're looking at. I have a lot of people say to me initially, anyway, I want to go to a Division 1 university. My advice to everyone is, don't be so sort of like tunnel vision. It has to be Division 1. Explore other universities. Division 2 have some incredible universities. Division 3 have some of the top unis in the world. However, you don't get sports scholarships there, but your sport can still help you get in, again, depending on budgets and things like that. A general rule of thumb, again, it from sport to sport, it's very hard to say. For any team sport, essential is video footage. So anyone from soccer, football, as we will say here in the UK, field hockey, lacrosse, rugby, and then individual sports where video will help would be golf and tennis. But team sports, video is essential. No competitive footage, it's unlikely a coach is going to recruit you. Football wise, you want to be at least county level. If you're at independent schools, you want to be around ISFA level, there or thereabouts anyway. If you're playing lacrosse, really, you want to be at least England under-19 academy or development academy. Golf goes off of scoring average more so than handicaps, which we're really obsessed with handicaps, but it's not really got anything to do with what a coach recruits. They're looking anywhere between the mid-70s to the high 70s on your scoring average at national ranking events. Swimming goes off of 2K erg times. Rowing goes off of 2K erg times. Swimming and track and field, we can be much more accurate with, because they're measurable sports. Similar to rowing, once I see someone's times, I can say to them, right, I'm pretty confident I can help you here. Or some of them, I will get you a full scholarship. I know that I can. Again, we can't ever guarantee it. That's against NCAA rules, but we can limit the
But maybe this is a good point to kind of ask, how do you help in this process? Because I think a lot of people, as soon as they hear the word agent, they get their backs up. They think, oh, I don't want to use an agent. But actually, in many sports, that's pretty much essential, isn't it?
Yeah. So in the NCAA's eyes, we're not actually an agent now. What we get called that all the time in the UK, because it's an easy sort of name to give us. In some ways we are, but the NCAA's eyes, we're a talent evaluation service, is what they call us. So what the benefits of what we can do is look at a student. So we do assessments for any student for free. We don't charge for an assessment to look at their academics, their sporting at a level. First of all, confirm that they would be eligible for NCAA or NAIA universities, and then having spoken to them to find out what they're looking for in terms of going to America, whether that is a realistic route for them. Now, we can never say really like, yes, 100% this is going to be good for you, but we can limit, or we can give you a more accurate view on whether that is likely, whether you should be looking at Division 1, Division 2, and if you decide you want to do it on your own, at least put you in the right direction in terms of where you need to be starting. And there's always questions that come out with people looking at going to America. Again, if a family has sent a son or a daughter to America before, then they feel they know a lot about it, where they might in that circumstance, but it differs from sport to sport. Yeah, if you're looking at taking a gap year, for example, I know we've had this discussion previously, Jason, over the years, where if you're a tennis player, you can take 6 months out of education once you've graduated. Any more than that, you start losing eligibility. Now, if you're a track and field athlete or a rower, you can have a year out of education without losing eligibility. So different sports have different rules in place, and it's about understanding, and that's where we can come in and help to make sure that's done. Right. The information you give to the NCAA, that it is accurate and they understand it. There's again a big rule that the NCAA set, and this is exactly the wording, is you're not allowed to receive any financial benefit due to your sporting ability. And the amount of times I go on Instagram and I see people promoting products or saying, thank you such and such for my free kit or my free spikes or whatever it is. The NCAA see that, you're going to be in trouble. So it's just understanding what you can and can't do. Because again, it seems harmless. But when you look at American football and basketball, people are being offered, or the big recruits are being offered, flats and houses and cars to choose universities. So that's why these rules are in place, to protect everyone.
So you're there to help the students and the families navigate those complicated rules. And I guess also you help them contact the coaches, right?
Yeah, so we do all of the coach communication for them to make sure they get the maximum amount of exposure. Because again, there's no doubt people can do it on their own and they can get scholarships. But whether it's going to be the best fit for them, or maybe there was other uni out there that would have been better that they never even thought of, they didn't even know of. Because again, if you're not an American, then in all likelihood, you're not going to know the differences between the pros and cons of unis from one to another, just as Americans don't know much outside of Oxbridge. So it's going through that, and they always have questions about what's one uni to another. And we've visited many universities in the US. Obviously, there's still loads we haven't been to, but we've got students at a number of unis as well. So we can give our first-hand feedback and let them know what we think of it, and actually paint a clearer picture for them, especially if it's a uni we've been to. Again, we've had that with a number of students where I can actually clearly paint a picture, right? When you come out your dorms, this is what it's going to look like. You're going to come out, you're going to do a left, you're going to walk for about 200 yards. You'll have the track on the left, you'll have your gym on the right, and just really help them sort of envision what that experience could be like. And that's what I feel the value is, because we've been doing this for over 10 years. And that over them years, again, we've been to many unis and been there and done it, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Well, you've literally been there and done it.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's say you've got a student and he or she has decided that they're good enough for a sports scholarship, and they may or may not have engaged you or another organization to help promote them to the coaches. At what point should they be approaching coaches? Is it ever too early, and is it ever too late?
So any international student, anyone outside of America, we start at a disadvantage, okay? Because we're not in America. The coach, a US university coach, isn't just going to hear about us for good performances, maybe from a high school coach that they have connections with, or from a club coach, or whatever it may be. So we need to make up that disadvantage as soon as possible. So anyone that's looking at going to America, my advice is get started, because all you're doing is losing time. Exposure is key, and you're promoting yourself, you're marketing yourself to these universities. So there are times when they can't reply to you, but again, they will still receive them, and they'll still know that you're there, and they will then be learning about you, and then you can be put on in their war chest or their war room, however they want to call it, different unis, but just all of the players or athletes that they're considering. the opportunities of going to camps, for example, if you're an athlete, doing them at younger ages are much better than doing them later on, because some unis might have already finished. If you go at the end of year 12 to a camp, probably 40% of unis would have finished their recruiting at that point. So again, my ideal wise, and once you've done your GCSEs, or even at the beginning of year 11 GCSE year, that's the time we like to start working with athletes. You can start later and still be successful, but again, to start it and have the maximum amount of opportunities, as soon as you know the US is a route you want to go down, just get started. Whether it's on your own or with us, it doesn't matter. Just get out there.
And what about, let's say a student is in let's say they're just finishing year 12 now.
Yeah.
So finishing their junior year, about to go into their senior year. Is it too late to start contacting coaches?
No, but they want to get moving quick. So if you can imagine at the start of their process, that's how many unis they would have had. Now, starting at year 12, you probably have that many. Still a lot. Still going to be opportunities for you. And things change. Literally, when was it? On, I think, Saturday morning or Sunday morning, I got an email from a coach saying that we've just had a girl drop out. Have you got a tennis player that can start this September? So again, saying at the beginning of year 12, this is what to start in less than 4 months' time. And they have funding open. And
wow.
I've had it in the past. I had University of Michigan, which is an incredible university. They contacted me in June asking if I had a player that, this was about 3 years ago, but a player that could start in September. So if things can happen, but you never want to plan for that. Again, that's if someone starts later, who knows? But yeah, if you start at the beginning of year 12, it's not impossible. Depending on the sport, if you're a gymnast, it's going to be really hard. They recruit quite far in advance. But most of the sports the more participated sports in the UK, like your soccer or your athletics, field hockey or rowing, tennis, there would still be opportunities if you're good enough.
So there are obviously some sports, well, you said that in most cases, you've got to be careful about taking a gap year and going off and doing professional sports in case that makes you ineligible. Are there any sports where getting that kind of professional experience is actually necessary to get a scholarship?
Definitely not, because if you get, so the NCAA is an amateurism sport or body. So if anyone who's signed a professional contract, theoretically, based on the rules, if you even train with professionals, that would make you ineligible. Now, there are some ways around that, okay, but don't ever sign a pro contract, because there's not ways around that. A semi-pro is okay, as long as no money is involved in the contract, but definitely do not sign professional contracts, otherwise you're not going to be playing college sports. Okay. It's there to protect the integrity of the sport, because say Wayne Rooney burst on the scene at 16, say if at 18 he decided, you know what, it's all a bit too much, I want to go to uni for a bit. It's really not going to be fair, someone who's been playing Premiership football and decides they want to go back to college or university or whatever it may be.
Yeah, that makes sense. And we've talked well, you've mentioned a few of these terms already. NCAA is obviously a very common one. Do you want to just explain for people who don't know what the difference is between these different governing bodies?
So yeah, you've got three main governing bodies anyway. So you've got the NCAA, which is National Collegiate Athletics Association. That's the biggest of the three bodies. Again, their job is there to govern sports, to protect students, and also to set the rules that universities and students have to follow. Okay, so they set rules that you just can't break. If they said it, that's it. You have to do it. They have academic criteria that you have to meet to be eligible, and also from a sporting standpoint, like the amateurism I just mentioned. Now, the NAIA is the second governing body. That's the National Association of Intercollegiate Athletics. That isn't as big as the NCAA. Academically, it's a four-year institution, so no difference there. You could start at an NAIA and transfer to an NCAA. It's similar to a Division 2 level, I'd say, maybe lower tier Division 2 level. Some of them are very good though. A bit more niche. They have some more specialist areas of study, like if you wanted to go into like art or graphic design, there are some very good universities in the NAIA. And then you've got the NJCAA, which is the National Junior Collegiate Athletics Association, and they're 2-year institutions there. Community colleges, junior colleges, JUCO, all different terms that people might use. and you would go there for a few reasons. Maybe you didn't get enough funding to go to a NCAA or NAIA uni, so you'd go there where it's cheaper to go. You can still get scholarships. Maybe you didn't meet the academic requirements of the other two bodies, so you go there because the academic criteria for a transfer student is different to the academic criteria for an incoming freshman student. So yeah, they're the three different, the biggest bodies in a way that most people will be going to. There is also a junior college, like Californian equivalent as well.
Okay, so this is something I've never quite understood, is why would a university choose to be in one governing body rather than another? What's their reasoning behind that?
Well, you've had some that have changed. There's so many different factors. So you've got Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. It's in Daytona, I believe, in Florida. That used to be an NAIA university up until I think 3 years ago. And I've got students there right now too. And they're now an NCAA D2 uni because the uni decided to make that leap from NAIA to NCAA. A few unis have done that. You've got is it Merrimack? It's Merrimack or Mercyhurst. I can't remember which one it is, but they were Division 2, and they've from this September they're going to be a Division 1 university. Okay. So there are different variables into why a uni is Division 1 or Division 2. The main one is how many sports they offer for male and female athletes. There has to be a certain amount. There are also some factors on American football as well that will impact that. But the main factors are how many sports you offer for men and women.
Okay.
So it could be that a D1 uni has 14 sports for male and female athletes, a variety of different sports. Now, a D2 uni might have 10 sports, so they're not going to be eligible to be D1. But them 10 sports, they might invest exactly the same amount as a Division 1 uni for them 10. But because they're 4 short, they might not have the money, or they might not want to have them 4 different sports. So that's one of the main factors between the different divisions. Again, it is a choice. Any uni at any time. There was another uni, and I can't remember their name now. It's going to drive me crazy. But the men's soccer Division 2 champions from 2 years ago. Incredibly strong uni, and I apologise for not remembering their name. But they then decided to become a Division 3 uni. So they stopped offering sports scholarships. So they actually went the other way. Not because they were struggling, that's just the route they decided to go down. So it's their choice, how much they want to invest, and that is the thing. The amount they invest in their money.
That makes a lot of sense. That clears it up. And I think one
promotion or relegation, that's the thing to make.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's something that a lot of people assume is meant by the different divisions.
Yeah, I did when I first went. I was the same as everyone. I was like, I want to go Division 1 when I found out about everything. But then, as I've been doing this through the years, you just learn more about it.
So in terms of the benefits for someone's professional career in the future, going to a Division 2 over a Division 1 doesn't make any difference?
No, there's professionals so there's a really good soccer university, and this isn't a sales pitch for them, but Monroe Community College in New York. They've had probably about 6 guys turn pro in the last 4 years. They're playing in China, in Belgium, in America, and all over the world. So if you're good enough, you will get spotted. Now, if you are good enough at a junior college, more often than not, you'll then normally go to a D1 college because you're going to get more exposure there. But you can go professional from junior college, from NAIA, NCAA D2, NCAA D1. There's a golfer who was at Dalton State in Georgia, which is NAIA, incredibly strong golf university. Now, he won a Jack Nicklaus Award based off of his performances and played as an amateur in a couple of pro events, if I remember right. Now, that is from an NAIA uni, which again, a lot of people view as a 3rd tier, which again, I class it as like 2.5 if you're going to look at NCAA D1, D2, and then it's very similar to D2. But if you perform, you will get rewarded and you will get that exposure, because everyone will hear about people that are playing to a great high level. Doesn't matter who it is, especially in America. There's and social media, it will get out there.
Okay, so just to clarify for everyone, which of the divisions and governing bodies offer sports scholarships?
So NCAA Division 1, Division 2, NAIA, and NJCAA.
Okay, but so the only one that doesn't is Division 3 of NCAA. Okay.
NCAA. Division 3. They can offer, again, as you know, academic and merit scholarship or funding or need-based funding, but again, they won't offer sports funding. It's very similar to like an Ivy League university. So Ivy League is Division 1. However, Ivy League don't offer sports scholarships. Now, it can support an application and make it easier to get admitted, but you're not going to get sports funding for it.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. I knew this was going to come up at some point, because obviously when people think about applying to America, and we see it from the academic side, people always think about Ivy League first.
Indeed.
Without really being able to name all the 8 Ivy League universities. But it's an important point to make, is that they don't offer sports scholarships. But as with any university, if you've got some amazing talent, that's only going to help your application. So if they want you on their team, they can make it easier for you to get in academically, but not that much easier. You still have to be.
Not that much easier. No, it makes it easier. It will never be promoted that that's the case, but again, it is the case. And that, again, just it's America for you. They love to be good at sports. They want to win, especially rowing. They want the bragging rights for any sport, not just rowing. But if they can say they won the Ivy Conference, then again, it's an excuse to knock the other 7 down or whatever it may be.
As long as they don't start getting good at cricket.
I think you're safe
there. No cricket scholarships, are there?
No, there isn't. Good. No scholarship for cricket, for netball, or for male field hockey players.
Okay. So when we're talking about the sort of eligibility for sports scholarships, I understand that the different governing bodies and divisions have different requirements. Is that right?
Yes, definitely. So if you're looking at, say, NCAA D1 or D2, what your GPA would need to be in relation to your SAT or ACT score. So they all work on sliding scale. Higher your GPA, the lower your test score can be, and that will differ from an individual. And yeah, from an eligibility standpoint, you have to have done a certain amount of English and maths and physical science and things like that. However, to be honest, for most internationals, there are waivers in place. As long as you haven't done an English or maths and science and actually failed it, or it's more so social sciences like geography or history or something like that, where as long as you haven't done it and got a U, we can get waivers for them students. It's only if you've done them and failed that it causes a problem.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, we've got a few more technical questions here. One is related to those requirements. So obviously, normally students would have to do the SAT or ACT. Is that right? For at least the NCAA.
Yes, definitely. And yeah, so I'll quickly explain what the NAIA require, and then because that's more simple, and then we can go on to how things have been impacted with the NCAA.
Okay.
NAIA, you need to meet 2 of 3 criteria. The first one is get a certain score on the SAT, which is 860, and 18 on the ACT. If I remember right, that is. But then the other one is to graduate in the top 50% of your recruiting class, of your graduating class, or have a 2.0 GPA or higher. Okay. Any 2 of them 3 is fine. So again, if you haven't done the SAT, but then you've also got to look at, does the university require the SAT or the ACT?
Yes.
Because it might meet NAIA eligibility, but the uni then requires it. So every student we work with, we say, do the SAT or ACT, whichever one works best for you, because at least then you have the options to look at NCAA, NAIA, and it's another way of getting some more funding as well.
Okay.
So now I can go on to the NCAA if you want now. Do you want to ask something else?
With the NCAA, so here's a particular question for you. With the NCAA, is it right normally that if you've been offered an official visit, you need to have your SAT or ACT score?
Exactly.
Okay. 100%. So what happens now if students haven't been able to take the test? I know we're coming on to particular circumstances now, but if they haven't been able to take that test, can they go on that visit?
No. The NCAA haven't said they can yet, anyway.
So that may change, but we don't know.
Yeah, potentially. So basically what has happened, NCAA Division 1 universities, it actually happened, when was it? Last week or something, they put a new announcement out. So no coaches can have face-to-face contact with universities, or students, until I think it's the 30th of June. That's been extended, so it was until the 30th of May. Let me just double check that date though before I say anything. because it only was just announced, but I think it's 30th of June. So that would mean things like official visits. This isn't just for international students, this is for any student, American students as well. Yeah, June the 30th. So they can talk on the phone, they can talk on like Zoom or whatever it may be, but they can't meet. Now that might extend. And at the moment, with the potential quarantines, and America aren't letting anyone go anyway right now. Yeah, that wouldn't be the case for official visits. I have coaches offering official visits to students for September and October if they have already done the test. But right now, to be honest, this isn't the time you're going to be able to do a visit. And even if you could, I wouldn't do it, because the whole point of an official visit is for a student to be able to establish if that is a place that is going to be right for them. Now, if there's no students on campus, first of all, you're not going to meet your teammates potentially, and you're not going to get a real feel for what the heart and soul of the university is like if no one's there. And they're two of the key factors of an official visit. So never do a visit in a holiday period, unless you just planned on going to America anyway, and you just wanted to go and see the uni, fine. But official visits are normally best in either the October or February half term. If the school's okay with you taking some time out, then anytime from like mid-September.
Okay.
But
so if students have been offered an official visit in October, then and they haven't done the test yet, you'd recommend that they get the test in now so that they can actually go.
Definitely, even if it's like, do as much prep as you can, obviously, but just get it in. You'll know the dates better than me. I think it's 26th of September is the SAT, is that correct?
That's right. There's actually one in August as well.
Oh, okay, awesome. Okay, so you've got August, September. Is the ACT still happening?
ACT is still scheduled to go ahead in June and July.
Wow, okay, so that's great. At least then, because with the SAT and ACT as well, the NCAA don't care what score you get. For the visits, they just want to know you've done the test. And in terms of eligibility, they just want to know that you meet that criteria. That can be really low if you've got a good GPA. So it just ticks a box for a coach that you meet your eligibility. Now, universities are going to very likely have much higher requirements than the NCAA. But if you need to do it again, you can do it again. But at least you can use that great opportunity of a visit to be paid for by the university and learn more about it, because there's only so much you can learn online. Like doing your research online is great, but you need to go and meet them in person to really get a feel. Is this going to be the right choice for me?
I think it's a good tip generally, is making sure you go and visit the sorts of colleges that you might be interested in and going during term time, so you see what it's actually like. And hopefully everyone will be able to do that again soon.
Fingers crossed, because I know you get it, and David gets it as well. Who, when we go and do similar like school presentations, where people will say, I want to go to this uni, that uni, or that uni, or this uni. They might come up with 5 unis, and you look at them 5 unis, and they're all so different. And you're like, well, if you like that one, why do you like this one? Because that's like chalk and cheese, and it really doesn't add up. And then you realize a lot of people are looking at unis based off of names, not based off of what that experience will give you. And that's where visits really does help them. Like, wow, I thought I wanted to go here, but I really don't. And you don't want to find that out when you started in September.
No,
you have a bit of a problem there.
Okay, so a more precise question here is: have you got any students, or have you got any experience of students who've gone over on an exchange program rather than just for undergraduate?
I haven't, to be honest with you. So it depends on the exchange program. So again, looking at in terms of getting scholarships, that would be a hard one. I don't know how the universities that partner together would work that. But if, say, funding wasn't an option and that was a student doing an exchange program and they want to be part of the sports team, that would be possible. All that you would need to do, depending on what sport you are. Again, if you're in a team sport, if you haven't got video, when you can start playing again, get video, match footage. Doesn't mean you need to go out and buy a video camera, use your phone, use an iPad, whatever it may be, any form you can get video. Reach out to the coach. Say to the coach, I'm going to be coming here next year, or I'm planning on coming here in September 2021 on an exchange program. Would love to be part of the program. It might be that they don't think you're quite good enough to compete as part of the first team, but they might say, well, yeah, you can come and train with us. Again, with the potential, if you improve, to then play. So it's not something we've actually had, but Again, if you're part
It's
of that
possible.
uni, you can go and try out. There's a thing called open tryouts,
Okay.
where anyone who's been admitted to the uni can go and basically go to a tryout, and if the coach likes you, they can say, "Yeah, you can come. We'll provide your kit and everything, and you'll come and train with us and gym you time and be part of the team."
Interesting. So obviously that wouldn't mean that you would get a sports scholarship, right?
Unlikely, because again, I wouldn't want to say yes or no purely because I've not come across it before. But if you're paying to go to uni in Spain or in England and you're doing an exchange program, if you're really good and the coach wants you, they probably would be able to make the funding available. But it's just again, it would depend on the agreements, I'm guessing, or what the unis have, as whether they could even make that happen.
Okay, makes sense.
Again, I wouldn't know, but again, something we could look into.
This reminds me of another term that comes up quite a lot, which is walk-ons.
Yes.
Can you explain what is meant by a walk-on spot on a team?
So a walk-on spot is someone who's applied to a university, got admitted, just on their own merit and their own strengths and application, etc. And basically decide, you know what, I want to be part of the football team. And the coach says, right, at the beginning of the year, we're going to have a tryout. Anyone can turn up. And then if we like 1, 2, 3 people, however many they're looking for, you can come and be part of our football team. And yeah, it gives you the opportunities. And then if you have a great year or a great first 2 years, the coach could then start giving you scholarship funding in year 2, year 3, year 4. You can also be a recruited walk-on where a coach says, look, I like you. And I'll tell you, look, if you get into the uni, you can come and be part of our team. You don't have to go to a tryout. But I can't give you scholarship funding right now. But again, if you get in, you can come and be part of our tennis team program or whatever it may be.
So basically, it's a spot on the team, but no funding for it.
Exactly. Yeah. So similar to what like an Ivy League university, where you're not getting funding, but a coach is saying, yes, you can come and be part of our sports program.
Okay. So for those people who really wanted to be on a particular team of a particular university, there's still always a chance. Get into university and turn up to the trials.
And anyone that's ever watched American football, so you've got NFL, one of the top players, defensive players in the NFL is called J.J. Watt. He really wanted to go to University of Houston, and he ended up being a walk-on there before getting a scholarship for his last 2 years, I think it was. He ended up winning MVPs in the NFL, like ranked the #1 player in the league. And this is all from being a walk-on at college. He just literally grinded, worked hard to get to the level where they took him and gave him money in the end. So again, just because you don't start off with a scholarship or you don't start off with a full scholarship, that can go up or get increased in future years.
So there's still hope for all of us.
Indeed. Apart from us two.
We've had our chance.
Yeah.
Another question here is, when you're contacting universities, how many is a good number to contact?
Depends on your sport. It really does, because different sports have different universities, numbers of universities that compete in them. So if you're like a fencer, there's maybe like 40 odd universities that offer fencing, whereas soccer, there's over 1,000. It's a ridiculous amount. It also comes down to what is your reasons for wanting to go to America. You might say, well, look, I'll go to any uni, but I need 100% scholarship. So if that's the important thing for you, you're going to have to contact a lot more unis, because you need to give yourself the best chance of getting that scholarship, and then you can start bouncing unis off each other. One uni's offered this, okay, well, you need to match that, or I can't come. I always say, again, the more your name gets out there, the more coaches you speak to, the more unis you're going to be able to compare against each other, again, for your own peace of mind, coaching styles, what their background is with other international students that have gone there, how have they progressed, what's the uni like, and is it a big city environment or a campus environment? Is it a place where it's going to help you with job prospects? Is it a brand like recognition on the university? Is there much to do in your downtime? Again, you're not going to be in classroom, you're not going to be on there playing sports all the time. There is going to be time to go out with your friends. And are you in the middle of nowhere? Again, the weather, again, is another thing. Do you like these beautiful sunny days, or is it too much for you? Some people don't like it. Everyone's different, but for me, whatever it is that you want, the more coaches you speak to, the more options you're going to have. So as many as possible. Don't waffle on like I'm doing right now. When you send an email, just try and bullet point it into the main important factors to from an academic and a sporting standpoint. No more than 3 or 4 top achievements, because they don't want to read an essay. They just want to know initially, are you someone that could come in and improve us?
Well, it sounds similar to the advice that we give for academic applications, which is you want to apply to a good number and a good range to give yourself as much chance as possible. But if you end up applying to 100 universities, you're going to have a lot more work to do. You have to write a lot more emails or essays.
That's for sure.
And it kind of shows that you haven't really thought about what sort of places are actually the best fit for you. And it sounds similar for sports.
Yeah, and I think the really important thing to make families and students aware of, where it differs to, say, the academic side of things, where you can explore in some circumstances hundreds of universities if you wanted to. It doesn't mean you're going to do hundreds of applications. You're just going to be speaking to the coaches initially to find out if there is an interest, and then you start sort of sieving through it and narrowing it down to hopefully a top 5, and then you will go forward with that top 5. But you might be talking to 20, 30 university coaches at the beginning of the process to learn about them and to learn about them experiences. But then when it comes to the actual application for an athlete, more often than not, you're only going to do one, because you already know the answer, but you've just got to do the actual application to make it official. Whereas if you're doing an Ivy or a D3, or it's uncertain, then you might do 3, 4 applications.
That's an important distinction there, I think.
Yeah.
So there's naturally a few questions just to get some clarity on what's going on at the moment. So do you want to kind of set out what we know has changed and how it's affecting sports scholarships at the moment? So
a big thing that has changed is the SAT and ACT criteria that the NCAA have set out. So as we touched upon earlier, every student that plays in NCAA sports needs to have done an SAT or an ACT. Otherwise, they don't meet eligibility. Now, for any student, this is the important part, any student that is due to graduate this summer and is looking to start their freshman year this September does not have to take the SAT or ACT to be eligible. Okay. However, it doesn't mean the university isn't going to still require it. A lot of universities, again, as you know, have gone test optional, even for the next 2 years, some of them, but not all of them have. So it might be that you still need to do it. Now, if you took a gap year, you have to do the test. Because their view is you could have done this already. You should have done it, really, potentially, if you're on a gap year. It might be that, again, if you were planning to do it in April and it's cancelled, it is what it is. But yeah, if you're on a gap year, you don't get that leeway on the NCAA. From a funding perspective with the NCAA, there has been some casualties. Some universities have frozen funding for the moment until they know more so what's going to happen. Clemson, the men's soccer program, have actually disbanded, which is the biggest shock, really, to me. Because that's a big university, a uni with a lot of money. For them to disband their men's soccer program was a shock. There has been.
Is that temporary or is it permanent?
They've just permanently got rid of it.
Oh wow!
Which was a huge surprise. Now, that is not the norm. Again, they're the only one I know of that has actually disbanded. A lot of unis that I've spoken to have said, well, look, we're recruiting as normal. At this moment in time, we can't be coaching our athletes. We're not preparing for matches or regattas or events, whatever it may be. What we can do in this time is recruit. So they're still recruiting. What they said is where we normally would look to be signing September 2021 students this November, or that's when the signing period opens. Some sports, like athletics, are likely going to go on a bit later. So 5 or 6 years ago, it was quite common that April is when offers would come out officially, because that's when the second signing period opened. And it's likely that it will be extended so athletes can get, for athletics, especially the indoor season in January and the beginning of next year's outdoor season under their belt, to see what times or distances they're posting. If you're really elite already, then coaches will likely still sign you. For 2021 students, it shouldn't have a big impact. The last one as well, again, recently, the CCAA, which is an NCAA Division II sports conference, So you look at NCAA Division 1, NCAA D2, they can't all compete against each other. There's too many, there's hundreds of unis in them. So they all break themselves down into conferences based off of geographic locations. CCAA is one of them. They have 13 universities, member institutions based in California. They've suspended sports from September till January for this year, or for 2020. So there won't be any full sports at them universities. I'll give you an idea of just what some of them universities are. So that would be like Cal State Pomona, that'd be Sonoma State, UC San Diego, Chico State. It's basically all of the Cal State universities, and then a few others like Humboldt State, San Francisco, I've got a list there, Stanislaus as well. So that's the only conference that I know of at the moment that has actually put a freeze on sports for next fall.
Okay. So just to be clear on the SAT, ACT side of things, so you're saying, is it for students who would be expecting to go to college this year, or nothing's changed? So the ones who should be starting,
you do the SAT or ACT.
Right.
I recommend to everyone still to do it. Again, it's this year students that they put that rule to. And again, even if it does get extended in future weeks to next year, and as you know, again, a lot of universities have put it for 2 years as opposed to 1 year.
Yeah.
A lot of unis haven't. So why narrow down the pool of universities you can look at because you don't want to do a test? Now, again, it's a hard test, or not hard, it's just a very different test, I think is the better word to use. And it takes time to prepare for. But again, if you're going to do it properly. Have all of the options to your disposal as opposed to just a handful, because you're just selling yourself short.
Yeah. And it helps. So even if a college, let's say, only requires the NCAA minimum requirements, having higher scores can actually help with your application.
Definitely. You get, because if you're an academic student and you do well on the SAT or ACT, you can get higher tiers of academic funding to go on top of the sports funding. So it might be that like one university, like University of Tulsa, I'm pretty certain they can offer like 25% in academic funding if you have certain grades and scoring. So that means the coach only has to offer you a 75% sports scholarship to get you in on a full ride. That makes you a much more attractive option than maybe someone of a similar level, maybe even ever so slightly better, but doesn't have the academics to get that 25%. So always going to make you more attractive if you do better in your exams, or you do better in your SAT or ACT.
Okay, great. There's a nice question here that maybe we'll finish off with, depending on how many other people ask questions. But what is the biggest thing to be aware of when applying for a sports scholarship? What is your number one tip?
I'll give couple tips. I can't give one because there's just so many. Number one tip is have an open mind. Don't go into this process thinking it has to be Division 1, it has to be Ivy. Explore all of the options. If it's a uni initially you don't think is going to be right for you, but the coach wants to speak to you, have a call with the coach. Worst case scenario, you've lost half an hour of your evening. Best case scenario, you're going to have a great 4-year experience at a university. Again, just have that open mind to start off with, and be proactive. Don't be someone that you're not. Don't say stuff when you're on the phone to coaches what you think they want to hear, because they will understand whether it's you or not. They're talking to you because they like what they've seen. They just want to get to know you. It's not an interview. Okay, they want to know about your training. They want to know about your aspirations. They want to be able to answer your questions about the uni to make you feel more comfortable. So again, don't lose sleep over these calls when it gets to that stage. Have an open mind and talk to as many coaches as you can, because right when you start the recruiting process, you're here, your goal is to get to here. All of this stage is fact finding. It's learning and getting as much information as you can, so that by the time you get to here, that you have all of the information at hand, so you can sit down at the table with your parents or with whoever it is that's helping you make this decision and make a proper informed decision, as opposed to making a decision, this one's ranked number 10, this one's ranked number 12, so the 10's got to be better. Well, there's a lot more that comes to it than that.
Okay. So basically you're saying start early and keep an open mind.
exactly. That would have been much quicker if I said that.
It's exactly what we tell people as well. Okay, there's no other questions on here at the moment, so I think what we'll do is round it off there. So, Rob, I think just to finish off, do you want to tell people how they can get in contact with you for more information?
Yeah, so if anyone wants to learn more about sports scholarships, like I said earlier, we do free assessments, so you don't, there's no fee, just to find out, first of all, if you're eligible and what sort of opportunities might be available for you. You can come to our website, which is sportingeliteusa.com. We have an inquiry form on our website. You can email us at inquiries@sportingeliteusa.com, or you can call us. Whatever works best for you. Again, and we're still working. We're still taking calls. We're still speaking to coaches. And yeah, more than happy to speak to anyone that just wants to think about the opportunity.
Great. Brilliant. Well, Rob, we'll say goodbye to all our viewers now, but we'll stay online after I click end and debrief.
Yeah.
But from me and from everyone else at UES and all our listeners, thank you very much. It's been really informative. I've no doubt that we could keep talking for another couple of hours about sports scholarships, but it's been really helpful. So thanks very much.
No problem at all. Thank you for listening, everyone.
Thank you.